something which is absolutely integral to any interview. Since most of you will now set course to your journey, your professional journey, you've set course on your professional journey, it's ideal time to now start understanding what is the science of interview all about. So since I was looking after HR for a huge corporate for almost 15 plus years, and during my HR years, there were a couple of years when I was heading recruitments, which is hiring. So let me tell you, you may be hiring, or I have hired people at entry level. My team was hiring people at middle management. My team was hiring people at leadership level also. Any interview that anybody, anywhere in the world, ever goes to for any designation, any profile, any organization, the first starting question of any interview is, tell me something about yourself. This is one question which every interviewer asks. Now, this question may be presented in different forms. You may be asked, kindly walk me through your CV, or run me through your CV, or take me through your resume. It is not resume, it is resume. Resume. Take me through your resume, or talk in brief about yourself. Any form of asking you to tell them about you is what any interview starts with, begins with. Now, let me also tell you that interview is not a process of selection. Interview is process of elimination. Because when somebody has an opening in the organization and they go out looking for the right fit for that particular opening, as a hiring person, they go out scrounging CVs. By scrounging, I mean collecting. They go around collecting CVs with people with the required qualification, academic background, experience, etc., etc. So that process where the hiring representative collects all the profile CVs is the process of selection. So once all the CVs are shortlisted and collected, the process of selection ends there. Once you are lined up for an interview, say I have an opening in my organization and I have shortlisted say 55 CVs with people with required skill set. Now, once I have done that exercise, begins the process of elimination, that I have 3 openings and I have 55 CVs, that means 52 CVs need to be eliminated. So everyone who walks in for an interview, once upon a time guys used to walk in for an interview, now you may just have telephonic interviews or virtual interviews. You may have video conferencing to interview you, or you may be interviewed telephonically. Even till some time back before the lockdown years, interviews happened in all forms. Interviews happened in person, in one-on-one personal space. Interviews happen telephonically. Interviews also happen virtually through video conferencing, because as I said last time, that it is a global environment now. Everybody works in organizations, or a lot of people work in organizations which are spread across the world or across a certain geography. So when you have organizations that are spread across geographies, you can't have everyone traveling to a particular place to be interviewed. So even before lockdown, people would hold interviews through video conferencing or telephonically. And now, post-COVID crisis, all the interviews, whatever are happening, are only happening telephonically or through video conferencing. So tell me something about yourself is where an interview begins from. Now, that is one question. Now, you must be wondering, why does anybody ask you, tell me something about yourself, when your CV already has everything about you? Now, why do HR people ask this question? Before I plunge into answering that, just a few tips, disclaimers for you to remember what not to do when you present yourself for interviews. You may be presenting yourself for a personal interview in case the lockdown phase dies down and we again get back to going for interviews, or telephonic or video conferencing. When you go for an interview, the moment you walk into a place to be interviewed, make sure that you have a crisp copy of your CV with cover letter, neatly, nicely presented. If you're carrying some accessory like a bag, don't plop that bag on the tabletop in case it's a personal interview round. It's not very impressive. It's not very impressive to have your whatever luggage you carry, a bag, a purse, or whatever, to be plopped on the tabletop of where you're being interviewed. Third, if you have a phone, because all of us travel with our smartphones, please do not keep the phone on the tabletop. Even if the phone is face down, does not matter. The phone has to be switched off or kept on mute mode and put in your bag or in your pocket. So be clear, sit erect, your spine has to be erect, nicely, comfortably place your hands and start the interview. Now, the first question, tell me something about yourself. Why does anyone ask this question? And trust me, if an interviewer asks this question, the decision whether the person is going to be eliminated or not is almost made in the first 3 minutes of the interview. And this is the question the interview begins with most of the time. So this question and how you handle this question, trust me, sets the tone of the interview. It absolutely sets the wheel rolling in a particular direction. If you make an impressive first presentation through this answer, your likelihood of making it is little higher. And if somebody goofs up, by goofs up I mean somebody screws or performs not up to the mark to this question, the chances are your likelihood of being selected are lowered. So this is a critical game-changing question, and the answer to this question has to be thought through and very intelligently given. Now, why this question? As I said, there are 3 reasons why anybody asks this question. Reason number 1, to assess your communication skills. In any job that you apply, trust me, the job, no matter what job you're into, demands you to be able to communicate. And this is not because Shweta Ahluwalia says so. This is what the entire world, the hiring, recruitment teams of entire world, they are trained to assess you on your communication skills. And by communication skills, I don't only mean how well you speak in a particular language, but the effectiveness of your overall communication. Because once you are in a workspace, your job will entail you talking to people who are above you, that is your leaders, your supervisors, your bosses. Your job will entail you to talk to your colleagues, people who work with you, to coordinate and do what it takes to do a good job. And you will be expected to talk to people beneath you who are your subordinates. So you will always have 3 layers of people. You will need to communicate with people above you, people with you, and people beneath you. And to get anything done, you have to be able to communicate. So an interviewer's key responsibility is to assess people on their basic communication skills. So whenever you have to convey your performance, you convey your performance to your leaders. Leaders want to know, your bosses want to know how well are you doing what you were supposed to do. So how do you communicate effectively your performance? And when you communicate performance to your leaders, you also happen to tell them what went right and what did not go right. So your effectiveness in conveying what you could accomplish should be at par with your effectiveness in conveying what you could not accomplish. And if you could not accomplish, then your ability to articulate why you could not accomplish what you were supposed to. For example, if you were supposed to sell 700 pieces of a certain product in say in a week's time, and you could only manage to strike 300 off and 400 remain pending. So your boss absolutely would want to know why, how much could you do, so what you could accomplish, you will have to communicate. And then your boss will be more interested in knowing how much could you not do. So the remaining you will have to communicate, and the why you could not do also has to be effectively communicated. Going forward, one of these days, we will also talk about how to communicate to people above you. Because people above you should not only be told what went right, they should also be told what did not go right. So your interviewer's job is to assess you on your communication skills. That if you are hired in the organization, will you be able to communicate to your leaders what all you could accomplish with the same efficacy and efficiency and smartness and skill that you can communicate what you could not do? Because when we fail to do something or when we miss out to do something, our tendency is to pass the buck. to blame somebody else, to mudsling others. So mudsling, pass the buck, blame others. This is what naturally people do to save themselves or to cover their ass. Cover their ass is a very proverbial phraseology, which means to protect yourself, and in order to protect yourself, you blame somebody else. So that kind of tendency, trust me, is not very appreciable. And in the interview, your interviewer is going to ask you questions to assess what would you do in a scenario like that. So the first question, tell me something about yourself, is to assess you on your communication skills. And following that, there may be questions to make an assessment of what kind of attitude does this person have. Every time the person misses out on doing something, does this person blame others, or does this person have the character to take the onus or responsibility of what didn't happen, and also propose how the person plans to compensate or do it next time. So all of this is what the assessor or the interviewer wants to assess. So are you somebody who's able to communicate with your peers nicely? Because peers, people who are working at your designation with you, are people who you are supposed to coordinate with. You're not supposed to compete with them, you're supposed to coordinate with them. So your communication skills will also give them, are you a person who believes in coordination, or are you a person who believes in cutthroat competition? And then people beneath you, how do you communicate with them? People beneath you will be people from whom you may need some resources, from whom you may need some assistance, from who may need assistance from you, guidance from you if you are at a senior level. So how do you communicate to people beneath you? Are you someone who can lead people beneath you? Are you someone who can guide people beneath you? Are you someone who is empathetic to people beneath you? Are you someone who understands? All this is what the interviewer is trying to assess through this one question, tell me something about you. This is your communication skills. The next reason why this question is asked is to assess how you carry yourself in any situation, in front of any person, for any so how you present yourself, how you carry yourself, that is also an important demand from any job that you do. So is your presentation immaculate? Is your presentation nice? Is your presentation to win appreciation and to sell an idea? All of that is also deciphered from your communication skills through this one particular question. So how does this person carry himself verbally? How does this person present himself verbally? How does this person present an idea verbally? Because in any job that you get yourself into, you will be presenting ideas, you will be presenting thoughts, you will be presenting content to people, as I said, above you, at par with you, and beneath you, and even outside stakeholders. You might be in field talking to clients and customers. So you are expected to carry yourself with dignity, grace, and confidence. So whether you can carry yourself with confidence, you have subject matter knowledge, you have the grace, all of that is also assessed through this one question. Then third point, why this question is asked is to assess you on your confidence. So the three C's of why this question is at all presented to you is to assess you on your communication skills, to assess you on how you carry a thought and idea in yourself, and third is your confidence. So your assessor may googly you with questions, and that question may stump you at times. So do you have the courtesy and the etiquette to handle those questions for which you may not have answers confidently or not? Remember, interview is not only about assessing you on your knowledge. Interview is also about assessing you in case you don't have an answer. How do you deal with it? Do you lose confidence? Do you chicken out? Do you experience buck fever? Lose confidence, chicken out, experiencing buck fever. These are all expressions to say that you are nervous. So are you confident or are you nervous to a question? If someone asks you something you very comfortably can answer, obviously your confidence is expected to be a little higher. In case someone asks you a question to which you may not be very sure of the answer, that is the real proof of the pudding, real test of your skill set, your assessment of your evidence to your confidence. So not when you know the answer, but when you do not know the answer, how do you deal with that is a real assessment of your confidence, is a real assessment and real proof of your pudding. The proof of your pudding is another phrase to express assessment of yourself, yeah, evidence to yourself. So, three C's of why this question is asked. One, to assess your communication skills. Two, to see how well you can carry yourself. And three, to assess you on your confidence. Now, what to say when you're asked a question like this? Remember, this assessor's job is to get the best person for his organization. This assessor's job is to assess you if you fit the bill or don't fit the bill, or are cut out of the mold that they are looking for, or not cut out of the mold that they are looking for. So, no matter what you answer before you go for an interview, rule number one, switch. Rule number one, you have to be prepared not only with your knowledge but also with the background R&D of the organization that you're applying for. You should have read about the organization, you should have read about the industry, you should have understood the role that you're applying for. Unless and until you know the industry and what the industry is all about, unless and until you know the organization specifically which you are applying for, because each organization within the same industry is very different from one another. For example, Colgate makes a toothpaste, and so does Patanjali. Both brands make toothpaste, but both the toothpastes are sold so differently because both the organizations, in spite of being the same industry, FMCG, are so different. One industry, one product sale is totally, completely, and 100% hinged upon Swadeshi, and the other is completely differently selling itself. So, since the organizations are different, don't you expect them to be looking for different qualities in the people they hire? Absolutely. They are looking for different kind of personalities, different kind of value system, different kind of characters, different kind of culture to thrive in their organization. So they're looking for different kind of people who will be absolute perfect fit in their organization. So if you go for an organization, please make sure you understand the culture of the organization, that you understand the value system of the organization, you understand the vision, mission of the organization, that what is the organization heading towards, what does the organization want to achieve. You have to know all of that. Not only the industry, but organization specific. And even beyond that, the role that you are applying for, the role that you are preparing for an interview for, you have to know what does the role entail. Ideally, you should figure out, find at least one person who's done something similar professionally and have a heart-to-heart with this person. What does the job entail? Because only when you know what does the job entail will you be able to prepare yourself, and will you be able to articulate your answers accordingly. For instance, if you were going to apply for Indian cricket team as a bowler, vis-a-vis as a batsman, don't you think what it takes to be a bowler mentally is a different characteristic or different pool of characteristics, and what it takes to be a order 1 and 2 batsman? Don't you think that is going to require different skill set from the person? So even a same game will require different skills if you belong to different roles within the team. And even if you were a batsman who was being shortlisted for the first to land on the field vis-a-vis the bottom end batsman, don't you think both the batsmen will need to have different mental abilities? Because if you are someone who's supposed to open the match, you are expected to be mentally different vis-a-vis if you are someone who's supposed to be at the tail end of the string. So similarly, when you apply for a role, understanding the role and what the role entails and what it expects you to do here in your head as a person is also necessary. Now, what should you say when asked this question? There's a very simple 3S formula. And the 3S formula is, first of all, introduce your strengths. Now, when someone asks you, tell me something about yourself, a lot of us are tongue tied. A lot of us run short on words. A lot of us do not know what to tell. There's so much about me that I can say, where I grew up and what school I went to, how many friends I have, what hobbies I enjoy. There's so much that I have to tell the world. Do you think an interviewer is interested in knowing your entire biography? Not necessarily. The interviewer is there to hire you for his organization for a particular role. So, what he has come to do is to assess if you have the skill set, if you have the knowledge, and as a person, do you have the personality and attitude to do what it takes to do the job well, right? So, his job is to assess you on certain parameters. Now, if you're going to answer about certain things which have nothing to do with the job at hand, it is going to be redundancy. It is going to be non-value add. So, to resist the temptation, to talk about your family, to talk about your hobbies, to talk about the city that you were born in. I belong to this city. My city is wonderful. It is a small city. And also take care of your accent. So, if you have an interview where you're expected to speak in English, please speak in your natural accent. Because at times, a lot of us, in order to impress the interviewer, put on a certain accent which is not natural to us. So resist the temptation to do that. It does not make a difference if you have a certain accent or you do not have a certain accent. So long as you're speaking confidently and correctly and intelligently, it is good to go. And then if you have a query, don't hesitate but ask. Do not cut the interviewer short of what he wishes to say, but you can excuse yourself at the latter half of your interview when most of the questioning is done, and also ask or clarify your queries. Then, as I said, do not carry your accessories to the interview cabin or room or wherever you're being interviewed. It looks very unprofessional. And keep your phones turned off. Even if you're being interviewed telephonically and if you have other gadgets around you, make sure it's quieter in your background. So any kind of noise which may distract can be unprofessional. Carry yourself professionally even if you are being interviewed telephonically. Please sit promptly because your tone on telephone conveys how you're seated. Your tone on telephone conveys what mental frame you're sitting in. If I were sitting in a pajamas for an interview and slouching and sliding in my chair, my tone will convey that. Have you never experienced that when on phone with a friend, you can actually visualize what the friend must be doing? You can visualize the friend stifling through papers. You can visualize your friend doing something else, munching something. You can visualize your friend slouching in the chair. You can visualize your friends physically doing something, because the tone conveys, the way we speak conveys our physical presence also, whether we are attentive or not, whether we're distracted or not. So please, even if you're being telephonically interviewed, dress up nicely, sit promptly and professionally. Then I can give you an example of what kind of information you can give as your strength. For instance, my real strength is, it's a good idea to start with, straight away come to the point. My real strength is, for instance, it's a job that demands you to be a social media manager. If it were a job that was looking for hiring somebody as a virtual assistant or a social media manager, what is it that you can be telling to your interviewer? For something like, my real strength is to truly understand what your audience, your as in the employer's audience, wants. I pride myself on my reputation for creating engaging and compelling content, and I know what your audience wants and would love to share, because as a social media person, your job would be to make sure their social media presence grows multi times. So it's a good idea to straight away come to the point. Start with, my real strength is blah, 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 blah. My real strength is that I can do X, Y, Z. Whatever your real strength to do that job well, which they are looking for hiring. So it's a good idea to articulate your strengths and then link it with the job that you're applying for. So what does that job expect the person to do? Please articulate your strengths accordingly. The second formula is to talk about your success. So you've talked about your strength. For instance, if somebody is a trainer and an ESL trainer, ESL is English as a secondary language. It is a complete industry. So English as a secondary language trainer. So that person can say, well, my strength is that I have 7 years or 15 years or 20 years or 30 years, as many years of experience, and I can train corporate leaders, and I can train middle management, and I can train people who wish to become trainers to be able to train well, and I have done this for top multinational organizations, and I have been doing it successfully for so many years. So this is the way you talk about your strengths. Now, when you're talking about your success, again, let's stick to the example that if you are being hired as a social media manager, you can use these as templates, you can use these as cues and clues, and you can articulate your own area. Some of you may be engineers, some of you may be MBA graduates, some of you just may have finished your school education, some of you may be pursuing something else. So you can use this as a template, as a guide, and articulate your answers accordingly. So, for instance, if we were hiring someone as a social media manager, the person can talk about, well, I have been doing social media. Now, you may be doing social media as a youngster, as a teenager, and you may have spent time just dabbling into different social media, managing your own social media account like Instagram, Facebook, so on and so forth. But going on and bragging about all of that does not make sense here. Here, your answers have to be compass needle precision to what the job demands. So if they're looking for someone as a social media manager, then ideally your answer should be, I have been doing social media for past 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, as many years as you have been doing. I specialize in, then what is your specialization? So first, what have you been doing if you have been doing it for some time? Second, I specialize in, so what you do, what is your specialization in that? So I specialize in helping companies and entrepreneurs in growing their Facebook fan page. In case you're a social media manager, you're supposed to manage Facebook also. And then in the last 3 years alone, then talk about your accomplishments. Whatever time you have spent working on this particular role, what has been your accomplishment? In the last 3 years alone, I have helped dozens of clients in their 10 different industries, in over 10 different industries. So starting with, I have been doing X, whatever you have been doing for as many years. Then, what is your specialization? I specialize in Y. Then, over those years or months, as long as you have been doing that, what have you actually accomplished? Like here, I just to exemplify wrote, in the last 3 years alone, I have had dozens of clients in over 10 different industries. So that talks about the volume and spread and scope and range of industries that I work with. And on an average, I have been able to help my clients increase their engagement and grow their fan page 300 to 500%. So first you talk about what have you been doing, then you talk about how long have you been doing, then you talk about what is your key specialization, and then you talk about your accomplishments in that particular role, and what have you, if you can quote stats and if you can quote numbers, it further impresses. So I have been doing this so well, and I have been instrumental in bringing this kind of hype and hike in the business volume. And in last 6 months, and for how long have you been doing what you've been doing? That's what I am passionate about, and I have enlisted the clients for your reference in my cover letter. So this is how you can articulate talking about your success. So what have you been doing? What is your specialization? What has been your accomplishment? If your accomplishment can be supported with the statistics, and how long and what are your, for example, I purposefully wrote that that's what I'm passionate about, just to express that this is not something that I do out of majboori, but this is something I am passionate about, and hence I'm managing social media as a career. And then I also subtly mentioned at the end, I have enlisted the clients for your reference. So if I say that I have been working for 3 years for 10 different industries, and I have brought about that kind of volume growth for my clients, it's a good idea to also enlist some of the clients for reference of your employer. So number one is strengths. Don't brag and go on about your family, your hobbies, your blah blah blah. Nobody is interested in listening to that. Resist. What you should rather talk about is talk about your real strength. Whatever you think will be a strength for a role like that. So whatever role you apply for that particular role, what do you think is expected from a person to excel at that particular role? If that is something you can associate with your personality makeup, it's a great idea to present it here. Okay, and then a second S is success. What have you done so far to prove and convince your audience that you can do it well? Now, this was if somebody had experience. Let's look at if somebody is a fresher. Say a fresher who's just finished computer engineering. Some of you may not have started to work already, and you may be freshers. If you were a fresher and fresher who's pursued engineering, how do you corroborate your success story? Now, I am a professional computer programmer because you finished your education, so you can confidently say that I'm a professional computer programmer with knowledge of various programming languages. So now, because you're a computer engineer, they might want to know what kind of languages you excel at, like Java, JavaScript, shell scripting, blah, blah, blah. If anything else that you have done, you can add that here. My last year college project, so you also have college projects. You can talk about your college projects and how you excelled at your college projects. My last year college project was developing a mobile application for food delivery. So you could have been someone engaged in another industry, but here I just took an example that I developed a mobile application for food delivery, and that I completed successfully with excellent results within time. So look how I have one paragraph that you would have answered. I've just put pointers to that so that you know what kind of information and input can be stitched up together to make a good answer. So number one, I'm a professional computer programmer. Number two, I have knowledge of so and so programs. Number three, in my college project, I did this. Number four, I did this for this particular industry, and then I completed it successfully within time. So I'm not only talking about having done it successfully, that means you must have done a good job, and then also within time that you are a good manager of time. So in this answer, I have not only conveyed my academic background, my knowledge, the range of skills that I master, but also a project that I did and I did very well, and I did it with due respect to timelines. So many skills were stitched up together in one sentence. All right, so S1 is strength, S2 is success. If you are a fresher, accordingly, if you are someone with experience, accordingly. And S3 is situation. That is, why is it that you need this particular job? Why is it that you need this particular job? Now, all of us, when we go for an interview, of course, we want the job because we want to start our earning livelihood. But you have to have a more compassionate, a more passionate reason for why you want to apply for this industry, this company, and this job. Because, for instance, when you hire someone at home, if you were to hire a driver for your father's car or vehicle or for your home, and a person who comes to you and tells you that why has he come here to work with you, says that, sir, I heard great things about you. Your previous driver was full of praises about you, and you have a small family, and I have always wanted to work with a family like yours, and I heard some great things about you, so I thought I should come and apply for a job. Would you not like to hear a positive answer like that? Vis-a-vis if someone says, मैं तो बहुत काम किया है सर, आपका भी कर लूँगा. Who would you like to listen to? मैं खाली बैठा था, मैं आपके पास आ गया. What do you think now? So when someone answers like this, how do you respond emotionally? Interview is a process of elimination. That means there are more reasons that the person who's interviewing, who's looking for reasons to eliminate. Okay, so interview is a process of elimination. They have a checklist in their head and they're trying to tick off people. So everything you say or you do or you express verbally or non-verbally is contributing to the decision swinging either ways. So the way you articulate your answers has to connect with the person's emotions. So the person who's sitting there and interviewing He wants a positive person. All of us want positive people around us. We don't want even a maid servant to be negative. Do you like a maid servant who's always cribbing and complaining? No. Do you like a driver who's cribbing and complaining? No. You want a peon in your office who's gossiping, cribbing and complaining? No. Nobody likes people who crib, complain, gossip. So everybody likes people who are happy, go lucky, positive. So your answer to this particular tell me something about you has to be three pointed. S1, S2, S3. S1 is talk about your strengths. S2 is talk about your success in whatever you were doing as a student or in your previous job. And S3 is situation, that is what has been your motivator to come and sit for this interview. And when you're talking about why you are motivated to sit here, everybody wants to hear good things, positive things about them. So certain things that I will suggest that you be wary of whenever you go for an interview, whatever you were doing before the interview happened to you, make sure you're not blabbering negativity. That means if I come for an interview for a job and I was already working elsewhere and I come and tell you, oh, my boss was a very, very rogue man, he was uncouth and he was unfriendly and he was dominating, he was a dictator, I didn't like him. Yeah, you say, my colleagues were so useless, they were so incompassionate and they were so not coordinating and they were so difficult and they were making my life so difficult, I want to leave. Or you say that, oh, I'm coming here because your office is pretty close, it's walking distance, so why not here? Now, answers like this do not sound motivating for a person who's hiring. Are you only here for an interview in my company because my company, my office happens to be close to your house and there's no reason otherwise? Are you coming to me because you were unhappy with your previous boss? Or are you coming to me because you had a fighter colleague and you were not getting along with your colleagues? So somebody who's not happy with the previous boss, somebody who had massive fights with colleagues at workplace, somebody who's chosen me just because I happen to be closer from his house. If those are the kind of reasons you articulate or you convey or you express, trust me, it does not create a very positive impression of who you are as a person. Remember, the interviewer is trained to ask you questions to actually truly assess your personality makeup. They are trying to judge what kind of person are you. They are more concerned about if they're hiring the right person in their organization or not. And by right person, I mean a person who's productive, a person who's positive, a person who's a great team player, a person who's a go-getter, a person who's a solution seeker. So if you happen to be a kind of person who's a go-getter, positive, can-do, solution seeker, team player, your answers have to convey that. And remember, if you in your previous organization had a tough boss, if you in a previous organization had a difficult colleague, if you in a previous organization were unhappy for any reason, chances are you will find a tough boss here, you will find difficult colleagues here, you will find difficulty even in this organization. And why do I say that? I'll share a little fable with you here, a little something that I read somewhere. I think it's the right time to share with all of you. There was one person who was a traveler, and this person who was traveling from town 1 to town 2, while he was traveling, he spots an old lady sitting on the roadside. So, out of curiosity, he walks up to this old lady and asks, भाई साहब, क्या आप बताएंगे मुझे सामने वाला जो गांव है या शहर है ये कैसा है, यहाँ के लोग कैसे हैं? So that elderly person, this lady who's sitting there says, आप जिस गांव से आए थे या जिस शहर से आए थे वो शहर कैसा था, वो गांव कैसा था? So the person says, वो गांव तो बहुत ही ख़राब था, बहुत ही ख़राब लोग थे, बिल्कुल मदद नहीं करते थे, बिल्कुल मिलनसार नहीं थे, मैं तो बहुत तंग होके वहाँ से निकला। तो ये औरत क्या कहती है कि तो फिर यकीनन से ये आगे वाला गांव भी बिल्कुल वैसा ही है। लोग बिल्कुल मिलनसार नहीं है, बिल्कुल हेल्प नहीं करते और बहुत ही कठिन है यहाँ के लोग. कुछ देर बाद there's another person, another traveler who's traveling, and at the onset of the town, again he also spots this lady and he goes up to this lady and he asks कि ये जो आगे शहर है, आगे गांव है, ये कैसे लोगों से भरा है. तो ये पूछती है महिला उससे वापस से कि आप जहाँ से आए हो वो कैसा था. वो तो बहुत ही अच्छा था और वहाँ के लोग इतने मिलनसार थे, मेरा तो दिल दुख रहा है कि मुझे छोड़ना पड़ा और यकीनन मुझे वो ताउम्र याद रहेंगे, मेरा इतना अच्छा वक्त गुजरा वहाँ पे. सो ये महिला कहती है कि फिर आगे वाला गांव भी ऐसे ही लोगों से भरा है. यहाँ के लोग आपस में इतने प्यार से और मिलन के साथ रहते हैं कि आपको कभी लगेगा ही नहीं अपने घर से दूर हो. आपके लिए बिल्कुल बढ़िया जगह है. Now, the point to consider and think about and mull over is how come that person who was sitting at the onset of this town had two versions to convey to two different people? So, if the person who was traveling from a certain place had a certain experience, chances are it is because of his skill set, his personality, that he ended up having that kind of experience with the previous bunch of people. And he is likely to go and recreate similar experience for himself. And the person who had great and terrific experience in the previous place of stay, likelihood is higher that he, when he goes to this new place, will recreate the same magic and have similar experiences. So no matter who we are, we have certain qualities, certain characteristics, certain attributes, certain personality types. No matter where you put us, our experience will be recreated because we are a particular person. Whenever we go and interact with randomly collected people, we react similarly, we behave similarly, we do everything similarly, and hence we end up having similar experiences. So a person who leaves an organization because he has a bad boss, he will end up coming and rubbing his boss the wrong way and make him, the new boss, also a bad boss. If a person who's coming from a previous organization complains about bad colleagues, chances are when he comes to the new organization, he will have poor skills, people handling skills, and end up having bad relationships with this bunch of people also. So, an interviewer, when he asks you this question, tell me something about yourself. This one question is enough to give a lot of insight into who you are as a person. And the interviewer is assessing you on your competency to do the job well, but more than that, he wants a great person in his business, in his organization. So I would hire a little lesser competent employee, but I would not hire a troublemaker. I run an organization, and my organization has a lot of people who come and work with us. So when I hire people, I prefer hiring people who had great experience in their previous organization. I resist and I completely stay devoid of hiring people who had bad experience in their previous organization because that is reflective of their own competency, their own people handling skills, and the skills that they have of interpersonal relationship. So, this one question, tell me something about yourself. Imagine it is a game changing question. It gives a complete sketch, profile sketch of you, who you are as a person. So, number one, why is this question asked? There are three C's. First C, let's go back to our slide. So, let's quickly revisit the three C's and then three S. So the three C's of why the interviewer asks you this question are previous. Tell me something about yourself. Why are you asked this question? Communication, to assess you on your communication skills, to assess how you carry yourself in different situations, and third, your confidence. So three C's: communication, carry yourself, and confidence. And how should you answer this question? Three S, and those are: talk about your strength, your success, and the situation that has brought you to this job opportunity. Does it make sense? Okay. Now there's enough time, just about enough time, to also squeeze in something. Rules to speak right. Somebody asked me day one in queries that am I going to talk about grammar? And I said yes, this training program will also touch base on certain areas of grammar and the kind of areas people largely make mistakes around. For example, the kind of errors people make revolve around number one, subject and verb should agree when you speak. And most of the time, when speaking in English, we don't realize that our subjects don't agree with our verbs. Second, when did the action happen? So we are talking about things happening in our life or around us, but when did they happen? We end up miscommunicating that. Then where is the object that we're talking about? If I'm talking about my mobile or anything, where is it? The where is also at times incorrectly represented. And then are we talking about something specific or are we talking about something general? That also is places where we falter. And what is the emotional intent of what we wish to say? At times we also end up making errors in expressing. We wish to convey a certain emotion, but because we slipped on that particular concept in grammar, we end up expressing different emotional intent. So let's begin to understand what did I just say. These are primarily, so remember guys, spoken English and written English are two different worlds altogether. Can I see myself? Sorry guys, I was just requesting my team member to help me come back to you. So understand, spoken English and written English are absolutely diverse. They're two different worlds altogether. Why I say so is, when you are speaking in English, you are obviously expected to speak correctly, but when you're writing in English, there's a baggage of rules that you have to display your understanding of. But in spoken English, you don't necessarily have to carry the baggage of rules, but you have to be speaking correctly. For instance, when a baby is born in a family, who sits with that baby and teaches the baby grammar? Which grammar book do you refer to when teaching the little one how to speak your mother tongue? Who is appointed the responsibility of taking grammar classes for that little kid? Nobody. That 1-year-old is already talking, at least babbling. And by the time the baby is 1.5 and 2, the baby is fluently speaking in the mother tongue. And nobody ever produced a book called Grammar of Mother Tongue and sat with him. There are no classes, no teacher, no appointed authority to teach grammar per se. And in spite of that, the baby speaks the language flawlessly, fluently, correctly. The baby may have a limitation in vocabulary. The baby may not know the kind of words to express many higher order things. But the baby seldom makes grammar errors. Go and listen to a baby in your environment if you have. They speak grammatically more or less correct languages. And this is minus any authority teaching them grammar. Spoken English is learned slightly differently and written English is learned slightly differently. So we are talking about spoken English to begin with, because in interviews they want to see your command, or they want to assess your command over spoken English. Alright, so when I said that subjects must agree with verbs, because when we speak in English, our subjects tend to disagree with verbs. Okay, let me use some Hindi to explain what I'm saying. I am slightly more comfortable speaking in English, and that's because I was brought up in an English speaking environment. So I'm personally more comfortable and confident when speaking in English. So bear with me. I'm going to try and use a Hindi example to help you understand what I'm trying to put across. मैं कुछ हिंदी में कहूँगी और आप तय करें कि मैं सही हूँ या गलत हूँ. Ajay, my team member is sitting next to me. Ajay, you can at least voice कि अगर मैंने जो कहा मैंने सही कहा या गलत कहा, right? मैं सो रहे हैं.
गलत.
गलत. मैं सो रहे हैं. गलत. अच्छा, एक और कोशिश करते हैं. तुम दोनों खाना खा रहा है. सही या गलत?
गलत.
अजय, I'm गलत. गाइस, मैं गलत हूँ. तुम दोनों खाना खा रहा है. गलत. ओके, एक और कोशिश करती हूँ. वो सब पढ़ रहा है. सही या गलत?
गलत.
ये भी गलत. मतलब मैं सो रहे हैं. गलत. तुम दोनों खाना खा रहा है. गलत. वो सब खेल रहा है गलत. ये तीनों गलत. ये गलत क्यों है? Why are they incorrect? When I say मैं सो रहे हैं, what am I doing? मैं, क्योंकि एक इंसान है और सो रहे हैं सुन के लगता है कि बहुत अधिक लोग हैं, तो सो रहे हैं एंड मैं डोंट अग्री विद ईच अदर. हम जिस हर सेंटेंस में जिसके विषय में बात कर रहे हैं, जिसके बारे में बात कर रहे हैं, वट एवर वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट इज द कर्ता और द सब्जेक्ट ऑफ द सेंटेंस, द डूअर ऑफ द सेंटेंस. तो वो डूअर जो भी काम कर रहा है उसको हम कैसे कहते हैं? इट हैज़ टू अग्री विद द प्लूरैलिटी ऑफ द डूअर. डूअर सिंगुलर है कि प्लूरल है, उस पर निर्भर करता है आप एक्शन को कैसे कंस्ट्रक्ट करोगे. मैं सो रहे हैं गलत, गलत. पर मैं सो रही हूँ सही. वो सो रहे हैं अगर एक है गलत, वो सो रहा है अगर एक है सही. तो doer of the action determines how the verb has to be constructed. So the subject and the verb should agree. तुम दोनों खाना खा रहा है गलत. उस खाना खा रहा है सुन के लगता है सिंगुलर है, और तुम दोनों ड्यूअल है, प्लूरल है. सो तुम दोनों खाना खा रहे हो. नाउ करेक्ट. वो सब खेल रहा है. खेल रहा है सुन के लगता है सिंगुलर, और तुम सब बहुत सारे. अगेन द सब्जेक्ट डज नॉट अग्री विद द वर्ब. नाउ सब्जेक्ट हैज टू अग्री विद वर्ब. इन हिंदी it is awkward when we hear people talk like that. But in English, we hear people say, he do not do his things right. He do not do his things right. That is incorrect because he does not do his things right. Now, when you will be explained all of this in details, you will understand. Today, my intention was just to talk about the common areas where we falter when speaking in English. सो इसके डिटेल्स के लिए आपकी आगे क्लासेस होंगी, पर अभी के लिए मैं आपसे सिर्फ रूबरू करा रही थी कि किस तरह के ग्रामर एरर्स हम करते हैं, द रूल्स दैट वी यूज इनकरेक्टली इन स्पोकन इंग्लिश. सेकेंड, फॉर एग्जाम्पल, इफ आई टोल्ड यू मुझे एक पेंसिल देना. आप सबके पास पेंसिल होगी, तो एक पेंसिल मुझे देंगे. ओके, नहीं नहीं, ये वाली पेंसिल नहीं. अजय मुझे एक पेंसिल दोगे या मुझे एक मोबाइल दोगे अजय? ओके, नहीं ये नहीं, वो मोबाइल दो. नहीं ये भी नहीं, वो मोबाइल दो. कोई और मोबाइल है? वो वाला मोबाइल. हाँ अजय, ये वाला मोबाइल. सो व्हाट वर वी डूइंग? I asked him एक मोबाइल दो. So the moment I said एक मोबाइल दो, he produced any mobile that he had. But when I said नहीं मुझे वो मोबाइल दो, he was lost, he was confused. What am I talking about? And then he got me something else, and I said no no no, not this. मुझे वो मोबाइल दो. So the moment I said वो मोबाइल, I was referring to something specific. And जब मैंने कहा मुझे एक मोबाइल दो, I was not specific about which particular mobile I need. So whether I'm referring to specific things or general things are also an error in English. And that error in English is conveyed, give me a mobile. मुझे एक मोबाइल दो मतलब कोई सा भी मोबाइल दो. मुझे वो मोबाइल दो मतलब give me the mobile. मुझे वो मोबाइल दो. So the means specific. This is the room where we meet every day. ये वो कमरा है जहाँ हम रोज मिलते हैं. This is the system that I use to interact with you. ये वो system है जिस पे हम रोज interact करते हैं. ये एक system है. This is a laptop. This is the laptop. ये वो laptop है. So a and the articles, do this to your speech. If you are saying a to anything, you're talking about general things. This is a boy. ये एक लड़का है. This is the boy. ये वो लड़का है. This is a story. ये एक कहानी है. This is the story. ये वो कहानी है. So a or the, this is what they do to your speech and to your communication. So if your subjects don't agree to your verbs, you know how you sound. If you do not know how to use a and the, you know what you are doing wrong. The third kind of error people make is people don't know how to express and explain the position of the object. For example, if I kept something, how do I explain this through this medium? Okay, if I have This is my hand, my palm, and I kept the mobile here. Where is the object placed? It is on my hand, right? So there are words in English language which help you express where is the object. In case this is my hand and now I have this here, give me one more mobile. Give me one more mobile. Now I have another mobile here, give me third mobile. And I have yet another mobile here. So now I have one mobile on top of the other. So I have one mobile above the other mobile. Now I will not say I have one mobile on this, third mobile on this. No, I have one mobile above the other and second above that. So when you place things one above the other like this in a vertical order, you use the word above. But then if it is here, it's not on my head, but it is here in the air, suspended in the air. It is not above my head, it is over my head. Over because there's a gap between my head and this object. So this is over my head. But here, if I keep it on top of the other, this is above each other. And if it were hanging here, this was over my head. And if I kept it here, then it is on my head. So on, over and above, the words which express the position of this object, and these words are called prepositions. So when your subjects don't agree, you are making a subject-verb agreement error. When you don't use specific or general correctly, you are making an article error. When you don't know how to express the position of the object, you are making a preposition error, which is why it is called preposition. I've just explained one example. हिंदी में आपके पास ऊपर है, ऊपर एक ही वर्ड है preposition, लेकिन अंग्रेजी में you have so many ways of describing ऊपर. On is also ऊपर, above is also ऊपर, over is also ऊपर, upon is also ऊपर, onto is also ऊपर, onto, upon, up, over, above, all of this are ऊपर in Hindi. So Hindi is easier, we say ऊपर and we can express. But in English, there are so many different ways of expressing ऊपर. And every word expresses something different. Okay, so that is preposition. We make prepositional errors often. Then we make errors around emotional intent. We wish to convey something emotionally, but because we do not use the right word, we end up expressing something differently. For example, you may do this, you can do this, you will do this, you could do this, you should do this, you ought to do this, you used to do this, you have to do this, you need to do this. Now I have used different words in the same sentence, and with every choice of word, the emotional intent changes, and this is called modal. Modal, M-O-D-A-L, are words that help you express different emotional intent of your sentence. For example, when you say, I will come tomorrow, that means I'm surely going to come tomorrow. I'm certain. So will conveys certainty. If I say, I may come tomorrow, that means 50-50, I may or I may not come tomorrow. If I say, I can come tomorrow, I'm talking about my physical ability to come. I can come tomorrow. I have a vehicle. I have time. I can come tomorrow. If I say, I might come tomorrow, likelihood of my coming is slightly lesser, but again, not very sure. So may and might are that way slightly different. Both are not sure, but the degree of surety changes from may and might, from may to might. Then I shall come tomorrow. Now shall and will are different. Will is uncertain I will come tomorrow. Shall has the emotion of promise, self-promise. For example, there is a popular Hindi patriotic song, Hum Honge Kamyab. When this song was translated into English, हम होंगे कामयाब, इसको जब अंग्रेजी में translate किया गया था, so it was translated as we shall overcome. Now we shall, it wasn't we will overcome, कि हम certain हम कामयाब होंगे, but we shall overcome, because shall is that modal which has a degree of promise, commitment. We shall overcome. So I shall come tomorrow. I'm committing myself to coming tomorrow. Okay, I'm not talking about the certainty, but I'm talking about the promise, the commitment. Then you have ought to. I ought to come tomorrow. You ought to obey your elders. You ought to follow rules. Ought to is kartavya. The emotion is kartavya, obligation. We ought to do certain things because we're obliged to do them. Like we ought to follow the country law. We ought to respect our elders. We ought to live up to our principles and values. So ought to becomes more of obligation, kartavya. So you have will, you have may, you have might, you have must. Must is like authority. You must, I must come tomorrow. I'm like authoritatively commanding myself to come tomorrow. So you must do this as an order. So you may, so you will, may, might, can, shall, must, could. Now what is could? Could is of course, can is ability, but could has a sense of request. Could you do this for me, please? So could has a slight emotion of request. I could do this for you. I am offering to do this for you, to help you. So can is ability, but could becomes a little sense of offering help or request. So then you have to, you need to, you used to. These are also modal phrases. So have to is urgency, you have to do it. Need to is your requirement of doing it. And used to is a habit, something that happened as a ritual in the past, it does not happen anymore. So this is how your modals change the emotional content of what you are conveying. So guys, one kind of errors people make when speaking in English is their subjects and verbs don't agree. Second kind of errors, they don't know when to talk about something specific or something general. Then they falter because they don't know the right usage of prepositions. What preposition means what position. Then they falter because of emotional expression. And last but not the least, they make errors around the time of when the action happened. That is called tenses. So tenses, I'm sure, reminds you of all the nightmares from your younger years, in your middle school years when your teachers were teaching you tenses. So in our program, whatever programs we run here at the Quench, we don't take you through the grammar the old school way or the Ren and Martin way. We talk about grammar in a very user-friendly way. For example, all the examples that I quoted right now, it was to help you understand the functionality of the rule. I don't want you to mug up rules. I want you to be able to use them correctly. And that will only happen once you know the right usage. What difference does saying it a certain way and not saying it this way brings to your language and affects your communication effectiveness? So, now last but not the least, as I said, the big demon of grammar is tenses. You have tenses are nothing but they are that part of particular grammar which conveys the time the action had happened. You have actions happening in the present time, past time, and future time. And in each of the three time frames, there are four ways anything happens. For instance, if I tell you, मैं जयपुर में रहती हूँ, what do you understand? मैं जयपुर में रहती हूँ. You probably think it is my permanent address. मैं पढ़ाती हूँ. You probably think I'm a teacher. मैं सुबह 6 बजे उठती हूँ. You probably think that's my routine. I get up every morning. So when I talk like this, मैं जयपुर में रहती हूँ, मैं सुबह 6 बजे उठती हूँ, मैं वेजिटेरियन खाना खाती हूँ, मैं किताबें पढ़ती हूँ, मैं लिखती हूँ. These express that probably these are things that I do always. They are my permanent characteristics, my profession or my permanent residence or my habits and rituals, right? Because of the way I constructed the sentence. अब थोड़ा सा बदल के देखते हैं. मैं जयपुर में रहती हूँ नहीं, मैं जयपुर में रह रही हूँ. Now what does this convey? रहती हूँ conveys that's my permanent address. But मैं जयपुर में रह रही हूँ conveys कि हाल फिलहाल I'm here. This may not be my permanent address, but this is where I'm currently staying. मैं सुबह 6 बजे उठती हूँ, of course my routine. मैं सुबह 6 बजे उठ रही हूँ, मतलब हाल फिलहाल आजकल मैं 6 बजे उठ रही हूँ. मैं पढ़ाती हूँ, मतलब मेरा प्रोफेशन हो सकता है. मैं पढ़ा रही हूँ, मतलब an action I'm doing right now. So the moment I change the way the sentence is constructed, the meaning changes completely. So the first way of constructing sentences is called simple way of speaking. Simple present, simple past, simple future. When you're talking about something which is a habit, routine, permanent fact, you convey them in simple language. But the moment I say मैं सुबह 6 बजे उठ रही हूँ, पढ़ा रही हूँ, खाना बना रही हूँ, खाना बना रही होंगी, खाना बना रही थी, This is the way of talking in an action which is continuously happening at that particular point in time. It may not be a permanent feature, it may not be a fact, it may not be a routine, it may not be a profession, but that is an action that is happening at a particular time in continuation. So from simple, we change to continuous. Now, third form, which is the perfect way of speaking. For example, मैं खाना बना चुकी हूँ, मैं थक गई हूँ, मैं पढ़ चुकी हूँ, वो सो चुके होंगे, वो सो चुके थे. This way of talking is perfect way of talking. तुम्हारे आने से पहले वो जा चुके थे, चुके थे या चले गए थे. This is nothing but perfect way of talking. Before an action, something had already happened. So you talk about one action and then you say what had happened before that. So before coming to the session today, I had already taken a class in the morning. Or before coming for the session today, I had finished reading my book. Or before starting to talk to you, I had already rehearsed twice. So जो काम आप किसी और काम के करने से पहले कर चुके होते हो in present tense, कर चुके थे in past tense, कर चुके होगे in future tense. This is the way of talking in perfect language. And finally, you have perfect continuous way of talking. That is, सुबह से पढ़ा रही हूँ. Whenever you're talking about an action which is going on in continuation and the duration for how long it had gone on in continuation, you use perfect continuous way of talking. मैं सुबह से पढ़ा रही हूँ, मैं 4 साल से लिख रही हूँ, मैं 20 साल से काम कर रही हूँ, मैं इतना. So when I'm talking about the duration for how long something has been going on, we use perfect continuous way of talking. Okay, so this is how we will progress going forward. Imagine, I've just given you an overview and I hope it made sense to all of you. So we talked about tell me something about yourself, which is the game-changing question, which is something that completely changes the flavor of the results, that increases your likelihood of cracking the interview, no matter who you are, what designation you're applying for, where and which company and industry and which country you're applying for, because we also prepare people to apply for international careers. So no matter where you go, which industry and which country you apply for, we train people when training them on interview skills, starting with tell me something about yourself. So going forward, we will look at other questions that are regularly asked in interviews. So one question a day should be a good enough thing, and we will talk about some grammar as we go along. So today I talked about the kind of 5 areas people generally make errors around. So thank you so much, and the last 10 minutes for Okay, thank you so much, guys. It was lovely talking to all of you today. So, whenever you prepare for an interview, it's a good idea to write your tell me something about yourself answer. I gave you certain tips, that 3 C's, why you would ask those questions, and 3 S, what order you should apply to prepare an answer. And then we talked about the 5 kind of areas in grammar people generally falter and make mistakes around. Thank you so much. Till tomorrow, when the trainer meets you, tomorrow onwards, you will have a new trainer coming to talk to you, because we wanted to add some fresh blood. I didn't want you to get bored just listening to one trainer, so we have another trainer. Her name is Vaishali. She's going to start sessions tomorrow onwards. Okay, so just to make sure different kind of people come and speak to you and have different kind of information to give you, and you enjoy and you don't get bored. So the intention is to make sure that the 15 days are made useful and fruitful for you. So every day we will come and talk about something which will be a value add for you. You're all young people. I am much older than most of you. I have 20 plus years of career behind me. And here at Quench, we have been running a training, learning and development organization. And so I have spent 20 plus years working with people, young people like you. And it is fun. It is always such a learning experience. And tomorrow 4:30, guys, please log into my live show, which is going to be at the Quench Globe Academy. So see you tomorrow 4:30 on our channel. We have a live show to help you learn some tips on how to generate wealth, how to make money and great career. Thank you so much. Have a great day ahead, and bye, and see you tomorrow.